Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. We're taking a look at one of the more underrated games on the Week 2 slate. I get a lot of attention going to Alabama, Texas. That is going to be a good game, especially for the national media. They love talking about those two teams. One of the games that's really being slept on, along with that Baylor BYU game, Houston Cougars going on the road to Texas Tech. Just in terms of the state recruiting the state of Texas, this is a big-time battle. Houston is moving to the Big 12 next year. Texas Tech, with Joey McGuire, they are trying to put an emphasis on recruiting in the state of Texas. That is why they hired him. And this is going to be a really big game where a lot of these high school kids are going to be watching this game. And when they're trying to decide where they want to go, this game might stick in their memory. Now, before we get into it, I just wanted to say thank you guys for all the support you guys have shown the channel. Both the Cougars fans, this is a team. This is our Group of 5 darling team. They looked sloppy week 1 against UTSA. I thought they'd win more comfortably than that. And then Texas Tech's a team that I think is a sleeper in the Big 12. This is a much better team than Vegas and the national media is given credit for, and they certainly looked it against Murray State. I'm excited to get into this. If you guys do like the content, you like talking ball, we do talk a bunch of University of Houston and Texas Tech football on the channel. Consider subscribing. We really do appreciate it. Let's get into the game. From a Texas Tech standpoint, this is a massive game. You're looking at their schedule. They have Houston coming to town. Then they go on the road to NC State, which is a top 20 team in the country. And then they host Texas. This is the beginning of a massive 3-game run for Texas Tech. And on the other side, Houston, this is one of their shots at a Power 5 team. They obviously are a Group of 5 team. When you get a chance to go on the road to another team in Texas in the Big 12, the conference you'll be playing at next year, this is a big game for them, and a team that if you want to make a New Year's Six Bowl, which I projected them to have a shot at doing, I think they can run the table. I think they're the best team in the conference. Got to win this game. You're coming in as 3-point underdogs. This game is a very, very intriguing game, and I think it's going to be one of the more competitive games that we see on the Week 2 slate. Starting with what I saw from the Houston Cougars, the first 3 quarters watching that game against UTSA, unbelievably frustrating. They must have came in and wanted to establish the run because they kept running the football, and it just was not efficient at all. Nothing was working until Clayton Tune started keeping the ball. That was their most effective running, was with Clayton Tune. Against the front 7 of UTSA that I thought was gettable, I like this Houston offensive line. They just weren't really able to establish the run. They were seeing a lot of loaded boxes. And then the second thing is, you have one of the best wide receivers, not only in the Group of 5, but in the country, in Tank Dell. And I think he only got 7 targets. And you look at what happened with those 7 targets. 5 of them were catches. 2 of them were touchdowns. When he gets the ball in his hands, he also had a great 2-point conversion. When he gets the ball in his hands, good things happen for Houston. And it was inexplicable the lack of opportunities they were trying to get to Tank Dell. I don't care if he's double covered. This is a guy that you throw the ball his way. Every time it was a target to him, it was something good was happening for Houston. And for the first 3 quarters, he only had 2 catches. That's why Houston only scored, 14 points in the first 2 quarters. They struggled so much because you have a playmaker in Tank Dell, and they just weren't getting the ball to him. On the other hand, they had some drops. Matthew Golden, the guy that true freshman, had a few drops. He's a talented guy. I'm excited to see how he progresses because he's going to be a good football player for Houston. He just struggled kind of in that big moment in his first start at the college football level. Looking over at Texas Tech, starting on the offensive side of the ball, obviously, the starting cornerback, Tyler Shutt, goes down. That hurts. I really liked what he was doing before he got hurt last year. Donovan Smith comes in and does not skip a beat. You look at the box score he had. I believe he went 14 of 16. I think it's right up here, actually. He goes 14 of 16, 221 yards, and 4 touchdowns. One of the bigger question marks we had about this Texas Tech team is how are they going to be able to throw the ball when you're missing your leading receiver in Eric Ezukanma. I think I said his name right. I did my best. I mean, this guy last year was Texas Tech's offense. And then you're losing him. You're losing Kalen Greger. 2 guys that were so heavily reliant when you were Texas Tech going through the air. The younger guys, the newer faces, they answered the bell. And I was extremely impressed with Texas Tech and how they were able to push the ball down the field. They were a very complete team. They didn't try to run the ball very much. But with Taj Brooks and Thompson, when they wanted to run the ball, I watched this as a cut-up. I didn't watch it live. They were very effective. I mean, Taj Brooks averaged 8.3 yards a carry. Cedric Thompson, 6.9 yards per carry. And I apologize about my names. Not the best with names. I'm doing my best, though, I promise, fellas. I was really impressed with Texas Tech and how they looked. I get it's Murray State. I was more impressed with how physically imposing they were up front on the defensive line. A guy like Tyree Wilson, he's a guy that he's an NFL draft guy. You take one look at this kid. He can play at the next level. He's a freak athlete with great length and great size, and he's very explosive. If he can get going for Texas Tech, that's going to be a special team. This is against the Houston offensive line that looked a little leaky against UTSA. It's certainly not the athletes you'll be seeing against Texas Tech. Another guy, Keshron Merriweather, another NFL draft guy. He looked awesome, was flying around the field, making pretty much every tackle for Texas Tech. This Texas Tech team I like. This Houston team I like. I'm not necessarily going to lay a pick down. Houston would be probably my lean to cover 3 points on the road. I really do think this Houston team is good, and what you saw out of them in the fourth quarter, they played 3 quarters of not their best ball. They figured it out in the fourth quarter, and they won the game. I think that's a massive confidence boost for Clayton Tune, Dana Holgorsen. Texas Tech, though, really looked the part, and the questions that you kind of had with Texas Tech is, who are they going to go to through the air? How physical they were going to be up front. I think they're going to win the battle of the trenches against Houston. And so it comes down to, can Houston get the ball into Tank Dell's hands? And can they just be a little bit more explosive? There were so many times where they were trying to establish the run, and there was a lot of wasted plays, quite frankly. 2nd and 7, run for 2 yards. You get 3rd and 5, and you get a drop, and you have to punt. Too many wasted drives for Houston, a team and an offense that is just too explosive to be able to waste those times that you have the ball in your hands. Can Texas Tech block Houston up front, though? Houston up front on the defensive line looked very good. Frank Harris was just kind of being a freak athlete, playing a lot of hero ball, working with some really, really talented wide receivers from UTSA and making some plays. This Houston team was putting a lot of pressure on Frank Harris and that UTSA offense. Can Houston ramp it up again against Texas Tech? Donovan Smith can be an athlete. He can extend plays. That's another key to the game. Houston's going to get to the quarterback. I mean, I think they led the country in defensive line sacks. A very, very productive defensive line and have a lot of guys returning that you really like. Can Texas Tech keep Donovan Smith upright, and can Donovan Smith extend plays? And can they run the ball? UTSA was running the ball a little bit against Houston. Texas Tech has 2 running backs that I think are really, really good in Thompson and Brooks. Can they run the ball against Houston? That's probably the story of the game. I also do lean to the over. I think there's going to be a lot of points in this game. You look at what Houston did in the fourth quarter. That offense in the fourth quarter looks anything like you're going to see at Texas Tech. They're going to score points. And this Texas Tech offense is an offense that looked awesome against Murray State. And so I like that too. I think there's going to be a lot of points. I think this one is going to be very competitive, and I cannot wait to watch this one unfold. This one, I have 3 monitors. This is a 4 p.m. kickoff slate. It's probably going to make the top 3 in that slate. It's a really good game. I'm very excited to watch it. I appreciate you guys for checking us out as usual. Again, the support means a lot. We really do appreciate it. We love talking ball with you guys. So in the comment section, let us know what you think about this game, and we'll talk to y'all later.